Welcome into Clear Picture Financial. Your host is Jason Noble. You can find him at Prime Capital Investment Advisors right here in the Holy City, Charleston, South Carolina. He is a fiduciary advisor, holds his FINRA Series 66 securities registration. He's a certified financial planner and retirement income certified professional. 18 plus years in the financial arena helping his clients, get ready for their retirement. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. Each and every week we hit the topics. We're going to do something a little different in this portion. I'm looking forward to it. We also give you an opportunity every single week to get on the calendar with Jason and his team to see where you are in your retirement planning process. And again, folks, this is no cost. It's no obligation. There is no pressure. That we're here to help you. These appointments, will make them available here in just a little bit. So some folks may, in fact, have a high tolerance for risk, Jason, but their capacity for risk, they think they have it, but it might be lower. And some people get so caught up in accumulating money that they forget to protect what they have for retirement. As they move into retirement, you got to think protection. So what kind of questions do you ask folks when you sit down for this comprehensive review to determine factors like, how risk tolerant or adverse to risk someone might be?
Well, why don't I turn the tables on this one and I ask you some questions and that the listeners could play along with us.
Okay, I like it. I'll see how I do. I'm not a huge test guy, but I think I got this.
This is all personal question, right? But we're not going to get too deep. But what kind of investor do you consider yourself?
All right, so I'm mid to late 50s. I would put myself in the moderate category. I'm not super conservative, but I'm also not super risky. So I'm going to say I'm going to take moderate risks for moderate returns.
Okay. So what I like about this is you said moderate, right? Now, if I had, let's say, 5 meetings that day and everyone said moderate, they can mean something different. So when you say moderate, you mentioned a little bit that you're taking on moderate risk for moderate returns, right? How do you measure how much risk that you're taking right now within your current portfolio? How do you determine that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I look at it and say, okay, I'm going to extend a little of what I have, and I'm going to put it in a category where I could make some good money, but I also could lose some good money, but I'm also going to keep some safe.
You know what I'm liking about this conversation is that I can explain what's going through my mind when you're giving me the answer. I'm already thinking as a professional, we may need to have a conversation around buckets. How do we have money in different buckets so that we have that growth potential, but we have another set of money that's more in preparing for income throughout retirement, more conservative strategy, where the overall mix between the 2 buckets or 3 buckets is overall a moderate type of risk. Does that make sense, like how I start thinking through based off of your answers?
Well, and it just goes to show you it's so important to sit down and have this type of conversation. I mean, where do you fall in this category? I mean, are you going to be a conservative? Are you closer to retirement? You're going to play everything pretty close to the vest? Or are you a little bit further out, kind of like me? And I'm willing to be a little bit moderate. I'm going to have some of my stuff at risk, but I'm also going to have a number of my accounts safe. And then if I can see, talk about that younger category. I mean, this category that gets started with their planning, say in their 30s and early 40s. I mean, they can really go out there and put some stuff on the line. And the risk, yes, there is risk. You can make some great gains, but you have time to make it back if indeed you hit a loss.
That's correct. My clients that are in there, I would even go into like their early 50s, they could have a higher risk capacity where they could then be able to weather the short term of volatility of the market. Just movement up and down, right? And when I'm talking about volatility, I'm talking about the bad down. There's a bad volatility when it's going down. They can weather that. And how they weather that is through continual saving and investing. Dollar cost averaging is what the technical term is, but it's putting money in on a consistent basis. And then they're going to be able to buy more shares at a lower price point to then be able to recapture those losses quicker. And that's why they can have a high risk capacity. That's where risk tolerance comes into, which is more around asking questions around self-awareness and self-reflection about your own individual investment style. And that can help me really guide that conversation into determining what that risk capacity looks like for your particular financial plan.
So, Jason, when you sit down with people and you go over risk numbers and you take a look at their portfolio, how many, maybe in a percentage base, do you feel like really had no clue how much they had at risk? Maybe they came in and they thought they were moderate or thought they were conservative, but you look at the portfolio and actually, they're in the growth phase, and maybe, obviously they've got to, hit the reverse and come out of there, but they have a lot at risk when maybe they should have more safe.
It happens very often. It's hard to put a percentage on it, but I would say over 70% of the time.
Wow.
Anecdotally. And the reason why is how risk is determined is not very clear and transparent to many investors. Mm-hmm. I like to talk about a recent client that we've helped.
Sure.
And for anyone that's listening right now, see if this sounds like you. This awesome couple, they came in by way of referral. I was working with one of their good friends, mm-hmm. and when I was going through their risk questionnaire and the risk capacity, it showed that they should take on more of a moderate risk approach. Moderate. Very much like what you were saying earlier.
Right.
However, we put their investments to the test where we were able to look at the risk of every single investment that they own, coupled with how does that build into the overall complete picture. Now, when they did the risk questionnaire, it came in at a 60. However, their portfolio was at a 79. Now,
wow.
This range is between 1 is cash, 100 is extremely aggressive investments. And they came in at 79 when their risk tolerance was a 60. Now, they're retiring next year. And so if we did not make that adjustment, mm-hmm. they could continue seeing a lot of volatility, and they could be potentially betrayed by the market right before they go into retirement or on that day of retirement. So as you can imagine, we've had many conversations over the last couple of weeks to then be able to adjust that strategy to a more conservative approach with better downside protection. And I got an email this past weekend from them saying, hey, I heard you talking on the show about bucket approach.
Right.
Do you think that's something that we should be considering? What I need to communicate with them is more clarity going, that's what I've already started working with you on. So I know Mike is listening. So Mike, I'm sharing your example and your story, but this is what I mean is they have accumulated this money for so long, and then they have that growth mindset still, which is great.
Sure.
But not when you get right into pre-retirement planning. And I'm grateful that they met with me 1 year beforehand. But really, this conversation starts 5 to 10 years before retirement.
Well, I think you bring up an excellent point. We are so driven to accumulate and save and get ready for retirement. It really takes a mind shift when you approach retirement to go into the spending phase. It's not an easy transition for a lot of people.
It's not. And I kind of relate it to my younger clients when they get out of college. If they don't have like an internship or a co-op or something, a plan in place, it could get scary. It could get shocking quickly, right? But it's like that anytime you have a major change in your life. And retirement planning could be a very stressful situation where then all of a sudden you're relying on your investments to provide you ongoing income throughout the rest of your life. And when you put it in that context, it's like, well, how are you going to go about that on your own? Mm-hmm. And if you are, how do you make sure that you're looking at all the different factors that we talk about on a regular basis on this show to make sure that you have your T's crossed and the I's dotted, to make sure not just you, but if you're married and your spouse could be able to make sure that you don't outlive your money.
I tell you, it's vital. I mean, you need to have a plan. You need to be talking with a fiduciary, sitting down and kind of mapping this out and talking about these what-if scenarios. I mean, where is your risk? Where do you feel like you are when it comes to your portfolio? Where do you want to be? But work with someone that's been down this road many, many times and can advise you on the best way to go about it. Jason, you have a limited number of positions on your calendar. We do open up 10 of them each week, and these are for our radio listeners. Walk us through what's going to happen for these 10 appointments?
And Morgan, the response has been absolutely incredible. My team and I are very proud of the work that we're doing and helping those and serving those that reach out to get our help. And what we're doing is we're answering the problems that they're facing with the questions that they're asking us, and we're also addressing the questions that they don't even know to ask us. And how we do that is we got to get to know them with our core values meeting. And this is where we get to know their story, the story of their money, and the goals that they have, but also any concerns that they have right now. And from there, we start to build out the clear picture analysis when we're taking a look at many factors of their overall financial plan. It is a comprehensive approach that we take because it's all connected. It's all connected to their goals and seeing how we could offset those risks that they are concerned about. But this is where we answer the questions that they don't even know to ask us. And this is how we do it. We just have a comprehensive financial review that we're going to be providing complimentary and no obligations. So if you're listening and you're going, man, I have these problems, I have these questions, but I don't know where to get the right answer.
Right.
This is where you reach out so we can have that one-on-one conversation.
Again, we have 10 appointments available with Jason Noble and his team, Prime Capital Investment Advisors. And that initial meeting, that core values meeting, and then you're going to build into that clear picture analysis. This is no cost. It's no obligation. Again, there is no pressure. We're here to help, and there are two ways that you can book these appointments. Again, we have 10 of those appointments. The number to call is 843-743-2926. Again, 843-743-2926. Or you can text NOBLE to 600-700. That's NOBLE, N-O-B-L-E, to 600-700. This is your opportunity to kind of grab retirement planning by the tail. I mean, you need to take control of what is happening in your life. If you are sitting there with a portfolio and you have accumulated, like we've talked about, your entire life, and you don't know what to do next, now's the time to sit down and start planning. Obviously, the sooner the better, but as you approach retirement, it's so vital to work with a fiduciary because there's so many moving parts when it comes to planning. Think about all, as Jason likes to say, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. How nice would it be to work with a professional, a retirement coach that's been down this road and can advise? I mean, this is what we're talking about, and this is complimentary, and it starts with that core values meeting. You need to call the number now, 843-743-2926, or you can text NOBLE, N-O-B-L-E, to 600-700.